I'm looking for the most inappropriate characters that I can find. That's that's always the fun, the lover, the side piece, if you will, of Vidya, like, Vidya's boy toy, if you will. Like, don't you find that the people who say that they're non-judgmental or the most judgmental people you've ever met? I mean, that's usually the
Absolutely.
case. Even with Never Have I Ever, I never took it because, oh, I think this will you know, be a great thing for representations of South Asian. Priyanka has been really wonderful about it. I mean, last year she hosted a South Asian Oscar party, and I went there. We were at the Paramount Studios lot.
Hi, Sendhil. How are you? Firstly, a huge welcome to India today.
Thank you so much.
I have to tell you, when I watched you on Do Aur Do Pyaar, the one thing that constantly came to my mind was, why is Sendhil not doing a lot of Hindi cinema as well? Because we love to see you on screen. So tell me why. Is it because there are not enough good roles coming your way, or is it like a conscious choice to not sort of like do a lot of Hindi cinema as well? What is the reason? I would really like to know.
Oh no, I mean, listen, I would love to, but I don't speak Hindi. So that's the main reason. When roles come my way from India, there have been some scripts that have come through, but it's Hindi cinema, and it's I really have to wait for like a good script with an NRI role that comes along, and those have come along too. A few came my way even after I did Shore in the City. A few came my way, but they weren't right. I do tend to be a little bit picky, as my
As
agents
you
like to
should.
remind me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as you should.
Uh, but both of my experiences working in Hindi cinema have been so positive. I have enjoyed both projects so much, and I'm proud of both those projects. And they both of them are with Tanuj, who produced both of the films. So he's my end. So really, the question that you're asking is for Tanuj. You need to ask him why he's not bringing me. You need to ask
No,
him why he's not bringing me some more scripts, because he seems to be my main link
person.
to
Yeah.
Hindi cinema. So we'll have a joint little side conversation with Tanuj and work that out, me and you.
Lovely. Tanuj, you have to come and we have to have this conversation for sure. Because when I watch you on screen, I see that you're so fluid when it comes to the characters that you're playing. There's a sense of confidence which I love, when I'm watching on screen. But at the same time, because you're not very sort of acquainted with the culture, or just the way cinema or shooting works here, are there sometimes, like in this experience and the past experience with Shore in the City, were there times where you were just like a little flabbergasted or taken aback by something which is very much prevalent in the shooting culture here, but not perhaps in America?
I know for sure in the city, because we were shooting so much just on the streets of Mumbai. That was very different. That was a big culture shock, because if we shoot on the streets in the US, we have the police there. They stop the traffic, they rope off the street, and then you get to shoot, and then they let the traffic through, and then they stop it again, and then you get to do another take. With Shore in the City, it was like, when that rickshaw passes by, you start talking. It was very much like that. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, we're gonna do this with all the buses going by, and they're like, yeah, just talk. It's called Shore for a reason. And I was like, okay. So it was really baptism by fire with Shore in the City, whereas on Do Aur Do Pyaar, it was very, it was a lot of interior shooting. It was
Hmm.
inside houses, inside flats. So that was a little different. But even with Do Aur Do Pyaar, when Vidya and I were shooting the scenes in the flat, we would have to stop because the mosque next door was doing it was prayer time.
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so we would wait for the prayer to finish and then try and sneak a take in very quickly, and then have to stop. So those were like little things, but as far as the actual experience of being on set and being with the actors, actors, it seems to be like a universal community. It's one of the
Absolutely.
best thing about it, about being an actor, is you can just drop into any country really, and I feel like despite language barriers, despite cultural differences, the actors will find a connection. And that's kind of my favorite thing about being an actor is actors are, that's our job, right? We have to find a way to connect so that the audience can
Absolutely.
connect with these characters. And that's my favorite part about being an actor.
So tell me about Do Aur Do Pyaar. I loved that your character had those vulnerabilities and you were able to show that in the most beautiful way, where you can also see the shock on the face, especially in that lift, but the restrained, there's this restrained energy where you know what's to come, but you kind of are hoping that that is not the truth or the eventuality eventually, and I like the subtle expressions that you had, but I want to understand when you are doing a character, because I've seen that you have played an array of characters. What is it that you look for? Because one, I want to know the recipe for looking the way you do at this age. Uh, because I mean, honestly, I mean, come on, everyone would like to know that. Secondly, uh, are you looking for roles which do justice to your age at this point? Are you looking for age appropriate roles? Are you okay playing? Um, I mean, what exactly is the base for you to say yes to be a part of any project whatsoever?
I mean, I never really look at the age, and as far as I'm looking for the most inappropriate characters that I can find. That's that's always the fun, I think that being the kind of the lover, the side piece, if you will, of Vidya, like Vidya's boy toy, if you will, was I loved that. I loved the idea of that, regardless of whatever age you're at.
Yeah, yeah.
I think inappropriate is the way to go.
I love it.
Yeah, appropriate feels a little bit boring, a little bit
Mm,
you just like stale, and yeah, I love that. That's one of the things that drew me to this character is in society, societal norms, it's not okay to
yeah,
be cavorting around with a married woman, but it happens all the time. It's just something
absolutely.
that's not spoken about, and
Hmm.
we were kind of bringing this forward and saying, all right, listen, this is a thing that most people don't want to acknowledge, but here it is right in your face. All of this inappropriateness is coming right at you. And let's see how everyone deals with it. And that's I've been so heartened by the response to it, because I think it is something that people can relate to. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I think I'm certainly pro marriage as a
I
rule,
mean,
but
your marriage is a testimony to that. I mean, your love story is a testimony to that at some point.
yeah, it's I'll it's my 25th wedding anniversary this year. So it's I clearly believe in it, but I also am realistic. I know that these kind of things happen, and it's not always just some person's fault. That's what I loved also about this script, is that there was no judging of these
Hmm.
characters. Okay, this is the situation that they're in. They all have kind of valid reasons for their feelings. All of their feelings and situations were acknowledged as real and just true.
And
It
genuine.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I feel we don't see a lot in film. There's always the villain in the
Absolutely.
relationship. There's always the jerk, or the woman who is devoid of morals, and there was none of that. There was none of that. It was a very real, mature, restrained approach to something like this, and
The,
and I, and I
this
love that.
another similarity between, I think, Mohan as a character, I mean, even with Never Have I Ever, and this character is that both are kind of non-judgmental in the way they approach life and are realistic when it comes to the way they approach relationships, because Mohan, though in monologues we see a lot of him, right? I feel when it comes to relationships, he was also someone who was more or less very non-judgmental and like someone who would just let go. So is it like a conscious choice that you make, that when you're picking a character, you hope that that character is written from a very non-judgmental prism? Because it's difficult. We are all human beings. We tend to judge characters more often than not. I mean, I feel sometimes we think we are not judgmental, but in situations we all judge.
Like, don't you find that the people who say that they're non-judgmental are the most judgmental people you've ever met? I mean, that's usually the
Absolutely.
case. You know, it's one of those things where if you have to state it, I'm non-judgmental, it usually means you're judgmental. You know,
Yeah.
that's human nature, right? But you know,
It's like
as far
how
as
they
I
say, it's like how they say, right? Like, I don't want to say this, but I'm still going to say it. It's just
exactly.
that.
Exactly. That, you know, I think there's a lot of that that goes on with people. And as far as it being a conscious choice, no, I can't say until you said it, I never realized that. I didn't make the connection. So that, well done you. Yeah, that's something that I hadn't even thought of or considered, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, you know, listen, I guess I'm just a really non-judgmental guy. What can I say?
The irony of that statement right now is
Yeah.
impressive. But
I'm
you
glad
know,
I'm glad you caught that.
but I also wonder, because I've seen that, we usually talk about actors from India who have gone, or at least tried their hands at doing a Bollywood film, or sorry, Hollywood film, and talking about the struggles of finding their foot in a new industry. But for you, it's the opposite. You have been in the as a representation for the Asian people, Asian American, you have been there trying to find your foot in Hollywood, while also trying to have your career here. And I know it's equally difficult to sort of balance that out, because you're still, I feel that sometimes as people who are Asian Americans, it becomes difficult, because in America, people would be like, oh, he's an Asian American. So that Asian representation will always feel more like a baggage at a certain point. And in India, they'll say, oh, you're too American to be considered Asian. So I've heard actors who constantly battle this identity crisis of in ways, because they don't know if they're too American or too Asian. Do you also sometimes feel that? Because I feel that uh, it's a little sad, but it's also the truth.
No, it's you know, I very much feel like I'm stuck in the middle of the ocean somewhere, you know, just kind of you know, you're unsure, is it a 50-50 split? Am I 50% American and 50% South Asian? Like what is the split? And um no, listen, it's something that's a very real kind of great observation on your part, because sometimes you don't know. And I think it's it would be easy. And I think certainly at the, you know, earlier portions of my career, I saw it more of as a burden. I saw it more like a lodestone around my neck. And as I've done more work and had more experience, especially working in Hindi cinema, I see it as a positive now. I see
Yeah.
it as I get to have, you know, a foot in both places.
Hmm.
And that's a really privileged place to be. Whereas I think earlier in my career, I thought, well, nobody knows what I am, and I don't even know if I know what I am. So, you know, where do I go? You know, you kind of feel like a little bit lost. And whereas now I feel like I'm both.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do both. And a lot of the, you know, kind of hesitation on my part for doing more work in India has been just family related, because I have children and I don't want to go away for a long period of time. And now that they're older, I'm so much more open to going,
Yeah.
you know, because they're teenagers now. They don't want to hang out with me. They
I get
they
it.
have they yeah, they have no interest in, you know, going out somewhere with me. You know, it's not that's not fun. They want to be with their friends. And so
Yeah.
now it's something that I'm very much more open to exploring and checking out those opportunities more now that family wise I'm able to be away from home a little bit longer without feeling extreme amounts of guilt.
Yeah, I guess that guilt always stays, especially with parents. I mean, that is something that you can't escape eventually, I guess.
No.
But like you said, that you are now more open to sort of experimenting. But does language still play a barrier for you, Sendhil? Because how much ever we say, it does come into play. Although I think in the last 5 years, because of these streaming platforms, the lines have blurred, wherein you can have more. You Earlier it was just like in Hindi cinema you only speak Hindi. Today that has changed, because today you can have a English conversation and still treat it the same way, because there's a lot of acceptance within the audience as well. Does that kind of embolden you to pick more projects, because you know that you can go with this identity of yours and you can go and speak English plus Hindi the way you did in Do Aur Do Pyaar, which is so adorable, by the way. Uh,
Thank
and
you.
still have an audience and not get ridiculed, because I know that there was a time when people would get ridiculed for not being able to speak Hindi the way people believe they should have spoken.
Yeah, no, listen, it's absolutely been one of the main barriers for me because I think I think that people think or thought that I just didn't want to do Hindi cinema, and it's not that I don't want to. I've loved every experience, and I'm so open to more of it. But the language is 100% a barrier, and so I've tried to keep very realistic
Hmm.
about my opportunities there, and just really because I want to have more opportunities in Hindi cinema, I've tried to be so selective about what I do because when I do it, it's got to be good. And
Yeah.
I was joking. I was joking with the cast and with all the producers that I'm allowed into the country once every 10 years because when we started shooting Do Aur Do Pyaar was based almost exactly 10 years from when I started shooting
Wow.
Shore. And I said, so I guess I'll see you guys in 2031 because, I got to wait 10 years, but I sincerely hope it's not 10 years now. I'm very open to working there on the right thing. And, I'm waiting patiently for good scripts to show up in my inbox. So watch
I
this
feel
space.
Yeah, and I feel the time is now. I mean, because of the streaming platforms, like I said, there are more scripts being written which can really include a lot of diversity, and I think that is amazing. No, because even for a show like Never Have I Ever to come and really get a lot of appreciation globally, India, we all knew that we would get appreciation, because this is the first time in many years that like a show has been made which is actually representing us for what we are, rather than just playing on the stereotypes. So we knew that it will work in India for sure, but to get accepted globally, I think that was an achievement, according to me. Do,
Oh, huge. It was huge. I mean, I was in Norway last summer on vacation, and Norwegians were coming up to me, telling me how much they loved Never Have I Ever. I mean, on a daily basis in New York, it's such an international city. We'll have people coming up from every country. I'm like, I had no idea it was even there. You don't realize how far Netflix is. Um, it's everywhere.
absolutely.
Netflix, Amazon, all of them. They're everywhere. It's the proliferation of streaming has any place that has internet can have these shows. And
Absolutely.
I think I love that about streaming. I mean, it's upended the industry to unbelievable lengths, but a lot of it is positive.
Yeah. And also you have people like Mindy and now even Priyanka, who is really pushing the boundaries for South Asian representation in the West, because I see that happening a lot more now, than it would be maybe a decade back. Decade back, maybe it was you and a few more people, but now the push is a lot more. Like people are really forced, I would say, to stand take a look and appreciate the kind of work that is happening, which is representation. Uh, but what is the how do you see that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just by virtue of doing it, that's what helps with the representation. I never even with Never Have I Ever, I never took it because, oh, I think this will be a great thing for representations of South Asian. I think it probably in the back of my head, I knew just by default, seeing a bunch of us on screen
Yeah,
would do wonders for it.
yeah,
And I'm always all for that. And I've loved working with Mindy every chance that I've gotten. And anytime uh, she if she calls me again and says, "Hey, will you do this?" I will jump at the chance. I just all of my working experiences with her have been positive, and she's an extraordinary woman. And I just like her writing. I love that I think she's a romantic at heart, and she does I think rom-com is very much a sweet spot for her, and I love romantic comedy. I really do. And I haven't had a chance to do a ton of it, but I would love to, be front and center in a rom-com. I think that would be a really lovely thing to do, and again, be a huge thing for representation. Certainly in this country, in the U.S. To have a South Asian lead in a rom-com in the West would be something that I'd really love to do.
yeah. I don't think that has happened, right? I mean, yeah, Priyanka with
Not that I
Love.
can think of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Priyanka did one recently, I think. But apart from that, there's not been too many actually. I can't even count because there's none.
Yeah, and Priyanka has been really wonderful about it. I mean, last year she hosted a South Asian Oscar party, and I went there. We were at the Paramount Studios lot, and she's a juggernaut, right? She's an extraordinary woman, and the work that she's doing for representation for women is extraordinary. I really do admire her and what she's done and what she's doing. I think that with her and Mindy and people like that, this is a really great sweet spot for us right now, and they're giving so many opportunities to people. I mean,
Absolutely.
the opportunities that Mindy gave to South Asians. I mean, the writers' room on Never Have I Ever was predominantly South Asian and predominantly women.
Yeah.
Um, and we had women South Asian directors, a ton of
Wow.
them, and camera people, and like you name it. She kind of said, "All right, this is the shot here, so
Let's
I'm
do
going
it
to
the
take
right
it.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it." And you need people like that. You need people like Mindy and Priyanka, and who are capable of seeing that big,
Yeah.
right? Like that
Yeah.
that's not something that's very common. To be able to kind of have that kind of scale to look at these things, and there's a lot to admire there.
So I'm going to take this promise from you right here before we leave that you're going to try
Uh-oh.
and do more in this cinema because we loved watching you on screen. We love watching you on screen. And I feel that you deserve to do more of Hindi cinema as well because Do Aur Do Pyaar was just a reminder of the talent that you behold. And it is unfair that we don't get to see too much of you here.
Thank you so much. That's been very sweet of you to say. And um, I, uh, I, I look forward to doing more. I mean, I really do want to do more. And if the right thing comes along, I'm jumping at the chance. I'm okay to go away now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hang out with me here. My kids are they they're like, yeah, go where you go. You're fine now. We'll be with our friends. So it's very I'm very open to it. So you and I are putting it out into the universe right now, and it'll come back to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have put it out already. And I can tell you this that I know that people have taken notice and they are going to offer you more and more work here. And before we leave now, because in the film, Vidya's character, obviously, Kavu says, right, like, Vikram Hindi ka murder mat karo tum. मुझे जानना है. One dialogue from the film in Hindi, if you can tell me. Because I really want to see if you are actually murdering the language or not.
I can't remember any of the lines. This is almost 3 years ago. Um, I literally can't remember. I remember, God, when I was doing them right before, that's the only time where you just see me sweat. It's just like you just see perspiration coming down, coming down my face. No, I can't. Let me see here. Tum
You can just
mere
say,
sar pe beti ho.
oh, lovely. Do you know what
There
it
we
means?
go.
Do you know what it means?
Uh, I did when I said it. I don't anymore. Something about you. Oh, you were always on my mind, or is what I thought I was saying. But I think
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
was actually saying is that you were sitting on my head or something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. You remember everything. Come on, you should give yourself some credit here, Sendhil. This was amazing. But thank you so much. I was really looking forward to this chat because I enjoyed your performance absolutely on screen and looking forward to seeing you more here. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for your questions. They were great.
Thank you.